So we all understand all the drama that went into Lane Kiffin to LSU. And I don't think anyone would have thought it was some sort of crime for Lane Kiffin to leave Ole Miss to become the coach at LSU. The crime for most people is that he did it in the middle of a playoff run. I understand. I understand why Ole Miss is upset. I understand. But as I talked about the next day, I think Lane Kiffin was making a 6-year decision instead of a 6-week decision. That's what I think he was doing. And the timing of it sucked, but that's the timing. LSU doesn't come open every year. You can't just wait until next year, hope you're not in the playoff, and then go to LSU. You can't just wait until next year and take Florida. Like, maybe one of the jobs opens up next year. Maybe Bama opens up next year. Maybe not. And at this point, LSU was open. And he had a chance to go, and he did it. And the timing sucked, and he knew the timing sucked. And he sat there, and he wanted to coach the college football playoff, and Ole Miss said absolutely not. And everybody on the Ole Miss side of things said that's absolutely ridiculous that you would try that. And I said, personally, like, can't have the LSU head coach roaming your halls to coach the college football playoff. You just can't. That's your rival. He represents the other team. He's on the clock for the other team. He's trying to beat your brains in the rest of the way. Like, thanks for all you've done, Lane, but you got to go. And I said that last Monday. And everyone at Ole Miss said the same thing. And then you realize, well, we got a playoff to play in. And a lot of our offensive staff works for LSU. Our head coach is an offensive guy. He's gone. Our offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss Jr., is gone. Our wide receivers coach, George McDonald, is gone. Our tight ends coach, Joe Cox, is gone. Dane Stevens works with our quarterbacks. He's gone. Sawyer Jordan is an analyst, and he's gone. Like, we got a skeleton crew here. Like, we might have an offensive line coach. We got Joe Judge, but we got Kevin Smith. But we don't have a lot. And we'd really like to do well in the playoffs here. We're Ole Miss. We don't make the playoffs a lot. And so this hard and firm stance on Lane Kiffin did not apply to the assistants, and all of them now are being welcomed back to Oxford to try to make this thing go. Now, I understand that Lane Kiffin is the guy who made the decision to leave, and the others are just following a job. They need job security, and maybe Pete Golding would have them back, but at the point where Lane was about to get on the plane, like, Pete didn't have the job yet. Everything was happening really fast on that Sunday. So these guys said, well, we know we have a job there, and Lane's going to be there for a second, so we'll go ahead and go there where we know we get the job. So they're not persona non grata in Oxford. That's Lane Kiffin. So their decision to go to LSU is not quite the same, but that's what this is. Because this line about, well, Lane Kiffin's just going to be recruiting guys to LSU. He's going to be recruiting guys to LSU. Well, all these guys are going to be recruiting for LSU at a certain point in time. And the fact of the matter is that in this day and age, you don't have to be inside the building to recruit guys somewhere else. There's tampering constantly, whether that's LSU to Ole Miss to LSU, or vice versa. Or anywhere in the country. There's tampering everywhere. This decision that Lane Kiffin could not coach the Ole Miss team had nothing to do with recruiting, had nothing to do with tampering, had nothing to do with promoting LSU. It had everything to do with, we hate you, now get out. That's what this was. And that's okay. It's okay to hate the guy who bailed. But if your worry was an LSU rep being in the building, recruiting some of your players to go to a different roster, like allowing the entire LSU offensive coaching staff to be in your building for a month, pretty much counteracts that notion. All this is we hate Lane Kiffin. And look, I held a grudge against John Chavis. He left LSU for Texas A&M. It had nothing to do with a playoff run, but I don't like folks that jump to a rival for a lateral move. And the Ole Miss folks would suggest this was a lateral move. But you can't now stand on the leg of there's anything other than we just hate that you quit on us. And that's fine. Like, that's the crux of this. But there was some concern in Baton Rouge and perhaps some optimism in Oxford that these staffers had not signed a contract, were not bound to LSU, and could, in fact, now that things have smoothed in Oxford, Pete Golding could have them back on the offensive side of the football. And based on Matt Moscona's reporting at LouisianaSports.net and the developments of today where Ole Miss actually has hired an offensive coordinator, they went and hired East Carolina's offensive coordinator who had been co-offensive coordinator at Ole Miss, that essentially locks up the fact that you're not going to have Charlie Weiss come back. Like, Charlie Weiss is not going back to Ole Miss. They hired an offensive coordinator. He's going to be Lane Kiffin's offensive coordinator at LSU. And you get the sense that that offensive coordinator is going to want his guys, and that George McDonald and Joe Cox and Dane Stevens and Sawyer Jordan will be at LSU once this college football playoff run is over for Ole Miss. Matt is reported at LouisianaSports.net that a memorandum of understanding with non-compete language has been signed by these staffers that are going back to Ole Miss for the month, and that they are bound to LSU with a non-compete when they come back. Now, look, I'm not an attorney. I don't pretend to be an attorney. I was under the impression that an MOU was not binding, was not enforceable by law. I don't know anything about coercion in contracts either, and whether that circumstance holds up. Like, that's way above my pay grade. But I think while I looked at this with that memorandum of understanding and went, okay, I don't feel awesome about that, but whatever. Then when Ole Miss goes and hires an offensive coordinator, you realize that they're moving on in Oxford. These guys are moving on to LSU once this run is over. And for me, as an LSU guy, like, what do you think about your guys coaching Ole Miss in the playoff? I understand this. I understand the human aspect of this. These are not guys who have only been in Oxford for 10 months. These are guys that have spent multiple years recruiting that roster, cultivating relationships with that roster, battling with those guys day in and day out, in fall camp in the heat, out on the field, in Norman, Oklahoma, in Athens, Georgia, in Starkville, Mississippi, like trying to win games to get to 11-1, and they've got a chance now to go try to compete and win. And that's why you get in the business. Part of it is to win games, win championships, and they got a chance to do it. That's why I thought Lane Kiffin really wanted to coach this team. Just not realistic. So I'm okay with it. I'm not pulling for him. Like, sorry. I'm not pulling. I want Tulane to win that game by 500. I don't think Tulane has any business being in the college football playoff, but I would like them to win this game coming up by 3 scores. They will not. They will get torched, but I'm pulling against Ole Miss, even with a bunch of LSU employees on the staff. I'd like them to lose and come to Baton Rouge, but I understand why they want to do it, and I understand some people go, well, if you're an LSU coach, how could you coach Ole? Well, it's a job for these guys. They're not dyed in the wool like you are. They don't look at it that way. So for me, this just kind of illuminates the whole situation, that it's not that no one could ever be the LSU coach and come work at Ole Miss. It's that you hate Lane Kiffin, you don't welcome him back, but all these guys who followed him based on his decision-making, you are welcome back, because we know we're Ole Miss. We may not get to this playoff. We may not get to this point anytime in the near future. So while we're here, we might as well try to capitalize on it with anybody that will come help us. And now these guys from LSU will come help them. So Charlie Weiss Jr., George McDonald, Joe Cox, Dane Stevens, Sawyer Johnson, all in Oxford right now getting ready for the playoff. They'll coach this team for a couple of weeks. If they win another game, they'll coach it for 3 weeks. If they win another game, they'll coach it for 4 weeks. But when that run is over in Oxford, they'll all be headed to Baton Rouge to be on Lane Kiffin's staff and assemble a roster. Start coaching them here at LSU. So you can read more about that at LouisianaSports.net. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.